What's up, everybody? My name is Dan Kornhauser.
And my name is Bobby Hunt.
Thank you guys for tuning in. And as we go, another episode of Shoot the J.
Shoot it! Shoot it.
And Computer Blue.
Darlene Pickett.
Woo! Before we get started, people, I want to let you guys know that we are powered by betting.net. Betting.net is your best bet for sportsbook and casino sites. Head on over to betting.net. Bob, happy Tuesday. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Happy Tuesday indeed. And even thinking about the betting.net promotion there, head on over there. If you didn't already realize that based on what Dan said. But now we're both based in New York. Maybe the Knicks gave it away after all these podcasts, but it's legal now in New York. You bet on your phone, you get on a lot of sports book apps.
Yep.
And it's full systems go. I think it went into effect Saturday, I believe, that everyone was able to place bets on their phone and gamble legally.
Dude. And I have already started taking advantage of that, and I've already dove in, and I'm excited to play around with these different apps and stuff like that. Put my betting.net access to use, learn some stuff.
And everyone, just be responsible first and foremost. Don't be silly. Don't be chasing games and making dumb bets and getting upset after you miss a couple and bet on that Kings Clippers game at 10 p.m. because you're desperate. You don't need any of that. So just try to be responsible. But if you are responsible, take advantage of all the offers that are out there right now. They're putting $100 in your account and a bunch of different sites that you can play with. So definitely check that out along with betting.net.
Yeah, dude, and betting.net is actually a really cool site. It offers extensive reviews on different sports books and stuff like that. So it's pretty good stuff. But we'll talk more about betting.net later. We got a lot to talk about now about the NBA, and we're getting close to the trade deadline. Bob, how far out is the trade deadline right now?
Oh, right now about a month. It's usually about in the middle of February, so probably between the 15th and 20th. I'm guessing somewhere in there. Maybe a little later, depending on when the All-Star break is.
So, yeah, we got the All-Star break coming up. All-Star voting is going on right now. The trade deadline is going to be coming up in a few weeks. Trade rumors are swirling right now all over the NBA. Crazy stuff. I think that's a good place to start because a report came out, and we shared it off the air and laughed about it and just insulted this team. But the Philadelphia 76ers, we know that they've been trying to get rid of Ben Simmons since the offseason. Ben Simmons is currently not with the team, claiming he is not mentally ready to play yet. At least that was his excuse before. I'm sure that's still the case. He's still not mentally ready, not only to play basketball for the Sixers, but I don't think he's mentally ready to play in the NBA right now, period, because he's soft. But I digress. Ben Simmons has been the forefront of all the trade rumors since the offseason. He's back at the front right now. And now they have a little stipulation. They're trying to move Ben Simmons and Tobias Harris in the same trade. I don't know who is going to not only A, step up and pay for that sort of a package, and B, who has the space or the room or the money to bring on such, what is it, like $80-90 million or something like that. It's crazy. It's a lot, and I don't know what they're thinking, dude. They were gonna have a hard time moving Ben Simmons by himself and getting 70 cents on the dollar, but now moving him and Tobias Harris. Not to say that Tobias Harris is a bad player, but what are your thoughts, Bob?
It's completely absurd. Absolutely crazy that they think a team's going to be willing to take on that much money. Obviously, few teams need to match salaries. Mm-hmm. What combination of players do they think they're going to get? They'd have to wind up getting the lesser players, maybe just take back pieces that they feel could be good around Ben Simmons. That's all they can really hope for. So I want to get the exact numbers. I'm about to be on Hoops Hype right now, but
okay,
easily Ben's over 30 million. Same for Tobias Harris. They're both on max contracts, if I remember correctly. And now I have it. So Tobias Harris is making a shade under 36 mil this year, And then we have Ben Simmons coming in at a little over 33 mil. So yeah, pretty much about 69 million tied to Ben Simmons and Tobias Harris.
69 million, you say?
Yeah, and it goes up to about 72 or 73 million combined next year.
It's a lot of money, dude. That's a lot of money for a point guard who can't shoot.
It's crazy, and he has 3 more years after this season left on his deal. It's going to be hard finding a team, a suitor, period. We talked about it just with Ben Simmons in particular. It's going to be not that teams don't value Tobias Harris. He's not. He shouldn't be making over 30 mil a year. He's a good player, but you're not taking on $70 million worth of contracts. It just doesn't make any sense. What team really wants to do that? And we talked about Ben Simmons just not having a lot of value. He torpedoed it with how he played at the end of the season and in the playoffs, and being so shy and not going for a layup or dunk late in that game, passing it up against the Hawks and just being so passive. And after that, Coach Rivers challenges him and basically says, I don't know if he's a championship point guard at this time. And like you mentioned, he's soft. He's acted like a baby ever since then. Tried to force his way out. I respect everything regarding mental health, but I absolutely think this is concocted by his agent and him together. So I think that has really killed his value. And we mentioned how it's just really going to be hard for them to get good pieces in return if he's literally saying, I'm not going to play with you. So both sides are hurting each other. He's hurt with his play and the way he's acted, but the Sixers he's also impacted them. And it's mostly on Ben Simmons. Don't get it confused, but they're between a rock and a hard place because they don't know what they can do. They can't trade him for what they really expect and value because he's not playing. And if a team knows, he's not going back there anyway, they don't have to give in to their demands.
Now, one of the big rumors lately has been Ben Simmons being very much coveted by the Atlanta Hawks. How much do you buy a rumor like that, especially not only considering the player in Ben Simmons, but considering the team that might be interested? Do you think Atlanta's a good fit?
I definitely buy it, to answer your first question, that they would be interested. They're a team that's struggling right now. They're outside of the playoffs, at least outside of the top 8. I know that for sure. Along with teams like the Knicks and the Celtics that are fighting right around 500. So
they're actually the 12th seed.
Okay, exactly. So they're definitely out of the playoff race right now. They're not even in the playing games. That would be between 7 and 10 seeds.
Yep.
So I do think they're interested. I'm sure teams have checked in on Ben Simmons without a doubt. He still has value across the league. It's just teams aren't going to give in to Philly's demands. I do think the Hawks would be a good fit just because he wouldn't be expected to be the number 2 or number 3 scorer, really. Maybe the 3rd, but you obviously have Trae Young, so people are going to feel that could be a good fit. He doesn't need to be shooting a lot. Ben Simmons, that is. He can dish. He can handle the rock. Come in for Trae Young and lead the team. Not be asked to shoot 10 or more shots a game. Just pretty much go for dunks and layups and putbacks and whatnot. Play defense. Distribute the ball. We know Trae Young's a turnstile at point guard, so he could guard some of the better guards that they play in the East and those times that they play against Western teams. I don't know if I love the fit necessarily. I don't think that all of a sudden the Hawks are a serious title contender if they were able to acquire Ben Simmons. But it makes sense because they feel pressure to get back to where they were last year. They've been a massive disappointment. And so they want to shake it up, and they obviously have pieces to do it. Clearly, just having all these pieces is not working out to where they want to be ultimately. So if the Sixers are willing to do that, yeah, I think the Hawks make sense.
Speaking of the Hawks, they got a bunch of guys coming back to the team from the COVID list, from injury, including Kevin Huerter, Bogdan Bogdanovic, DeAndre Hunter is also on the verge of a return. But the one guy whose name has come up recently has been Cam Reddish, and I do want to talk about that, talk about him, and talk about any potential trades with him in a hot second. But first, I want to remind everyone that your top sportsbook comparison site is betting.net. Betting.net offers extensive reviews on the best sports books out there. Head on over to betting.net. And the segue from Atlanta and their potential acquisition or interest in Ben Simmons to staying in Atlanta. And let's talk about the Knicks. I mentioned Cam Reddish. The rumor today that came out is that the Knicks are very much interested in acquiring Cam Reddish via trade. I got to tell you, when I first read it, I was a little about it because Cam Reddish hasn't necessarily lived up to his massive potential that he had when he came out of college. But he is very young still. He is definitely talented. I don't know how I feel about acquiring a guy like Reddish for the Knicks, depending on the price tag, because I definitely ain't giving any relevant players. Toss some Kevin Knox and a couple second round picks or something. Because honestly, looking at their roster and looking at the guys coming back, Reddish doesn't really hold much value for them at this point anyway. He's going to get lost in a sea of, like I said, all these guys returning, better wings for the Hawks. And he hasn't really done much with his opportunities thus far this season. He's had some good games and whatnot, but nothing that really stands out. Nothing that really says, oh, Reddish is taking that next step in his development. So I'm a bit lukewarm on it. What do you feel about the Knicks potentially acquiring Cam Reddish?
I definitely wouldn't.
Or their perceived or their reported interest in Reddish.
I understand it because there's not a big sexy move that they can really make. They don't have a ton of valuable first-round picks. They don't want to be selling the farm there. I also don't think that they have a lot of players that teams are going to be interested in, basically. They have an older veteran team for the most part. They have some nice pieces. So if some team does think RJ Barrett can be a star or something, then certainly you look to package him. But otherwise, yeah, they're looking for guys that can fill particular roles. They're not looking for a top scorer. Now with Reddish, you have a player who was picked in the top 10 in 2019, who, yes, hasn't had much success with the Hawks, and now he's on the fringes of that rotation. Basically, he's not going to suddenly go back and play 30 minutes a game. It's just not going to happen. They have other wings that they trust more than him. But he'll still be involved. Don't get me wrong. It's not like they're dying to trade him, but maybe they figure we have a glut of forwards, especially if DeAndre Hunter ever does come back from his injury. I don't know if he will this year. But then that's another guy that's better than Cam Reddish right now. So if you're the Hawks and the Knicks are dangling maybe a late first-round pick or something, yeah, maybe you do it just so that he has a new opportunity and he looks good for the Knicks because he's still only 22. He can still blossom. I don't love it, but as long as they're not giving up anything of too much value, I wouldn't argue with it. Maybe the best is yet to come for Cam Reddish, and they could fit him in. But aside from some three-point shooting, scoring, he doesn't do a whole lot else. You're not going to get a lot of rebounds or assists out of Cam Reddish, at least from what we've seen so far in his 3-year career.
So the Knicks are currently 20-21, which is the exact same record that the Knicks had last year at this same point. If you remember, right around this time last year, the Knicks got Derrick Rose, and as we know, the rest is history. That was the move that really sparked this team for the second half of the season. Cam Reddish, Miles Turner, Jeremy Grant. Those are the three big names that have been rumored to be interested. The Knicks have been rumored to have interest in these three guys. Bob, if you're the GM of the Knicks and you can acquire one of these players, which one are you acquiring?
A lot of factors. So you said
I don't ask easy questions, Bob. I ask good ones.
Miles Turner, Jeremy Grant. Who was the other one?
This guy, Reddish, Cam Reddish.
Oh, Reddish. Oh, the other two are clearly better at this point in their career, so it's going to be Turner or Grant. I would lean toward Jeremy Grant. I got to look at Turner's contract because I don't remember, but Jeremy Grant's making just a little over $20 million this year and next. You're not making a long-term commitment. I think they need a wing like that more so than they need another shot blocker. Now, don't get me wrong, Miles Turner is the elite one along with Gobert. He's a lot better than Mitchell Robinson. He can step out and shoot the three, better free throw shooter, all of that good stuff. But I think then it's kind of a glut of centers that they have. Not that they're all great. No one loves Nerlens Noel or thinks he's some amazing player, but I don't think they need that type
Too
of
injury
big.
prone.
Yeah, that's part of it as well. And Mitch is hurt too plenty of times, but the cost is probably going to be higher for Turner from the Pacers. I think you're going to have to give them picks and someone like Barrett or quickly. Why would they want anyone else? They're not going to trade for Rose or Alec Burks or any guys like that. They're going to want a young piece. Or whether that's, even if it's not Barrett, it would be some of the younger guys, which I would definitely be open to, but I would think they'd want someone like Barrett, without a doubt. So I'd rather go for Jeremy Grant. Their asking price might not be as high, and it's still like for the Pistons, they just got to acquire more assets. They still really suck. Now, I know the Pacers are tearing it down too, but if I'm a Knicks fan, well, I am a Knicks fan, but if I'm the Knicks GM, like you asked, I'm going for Jeremy Grant out of those three.
So to answer your question from before, you asked what Turner's contract was. He's currently making $18 million, and next year he's also on the hook for $18 million again. And next year is the last year of his current contract. After that, he's an unrestricted free agent.
Okay, so they have pretty identical deals, so that's not bad. I didn't think Turner's was too much higher, but I thought it was higher than Grant's in terms of money, but it's lower. So very similar in that regard, basically. But I think Turner's the better player a little. It depends. I mean, it depends what you're looking for, really. Jeremy Grant can score 20 a game.
Come on, Bob. I asked you the question. You're the GM. You're taking one.
Grant. What are we talking about?
Jeremy Grant, 100%. No questions asked.
I'm not going
to. That's what you're looking for.
I'm just not trying to trade Barrett for them. Not that Barrett, I think, is going to be some superstar, but I'm also not. I don't think that makes them a whole lot better. Yeah, they get better if they were to do that, but it's not like there's some, now they're going to be a top 4 seed or anything. I'm not confused.
All right, fair enough. Now, before we move on, I do want to remind everyone that The Grueling Truth and this show are powered by betting.net. And betting.net is your best bet for finding the online casino or sports book that's right for you. So head on over to betting.net. Now, we're going to keep with this whole trade rumor theme that we got going on here. Now, I remember last year, Adrian Wojnarowski from ESPN dropped the big Woj bomb that got me very excited in many different ways, that said the Knicks were one of the teams to watch to acquire an all-star caliber player by this year's trade deadline. Well, who's it going to be, Bob? Are we getting an all-star caliber player, or is Jeremy Grant and Miles Turner and Cam Reddish really as good as it's going to get?
I think that's as good as it's going to get, unfortunately. It doesn't seem like there's going to be as many blockbuster trades as there were last year. We had some big moves. It was a very active deadline. I'd be surprised if it was any better than last year. And so, therefore, I think it's definitely going to be a big fall off. I don't see major moves being made. I don't see Beal getting traded. I don't see Lillard getting traded. I could see Ben Simmons getting traded. That one could happen for sure. But I don't think we're going to see a flurry of moves quite like last year. And I think the Knicks would be better off just waiting till the offseason, honestly, rather than giving too much for Grant or Turner. If they can have them at the right price, sure, go for it. Make that push for the playoffs. But I'm also not going to mortgage the future or too many young pieces for guys that might just be rentals for this year next, or that they're going to lock up long term. It's not like if they were to get those guys, I'm not all of a sudden thinking, oh, man, that's going to be second fiddle to Julius Randle, and we're now contenders, and let's lock them up after this year and extend them. No, not at all. So I think the Knicks are better off waiting to the offseason, see what's available. I know the free agent class is pretty hideous this offseason, but we know about the guys that are on the block on different teams that offseason is more likely for them to be traded. So I just wait till then.
Okay. Now here's another one. We're gonna stick again. We're gonna stick with this trade rumor theme that we've been going with thus far in this show. Are there any players that you're not hearing rumors about, like Jeremy Grant, like Russell Westbrook, like Ben Simmons, so on and so forth, that you think might get traded? Maybe a guy like a Colin Sexton or something like that, because he's one of those guys who is on the last year of his contract with Cleveland. They're not going to keep him. They're not going to pay him what he's looking for, probably. So is there anyone off the radar that you think is someone who's viable to try to trade for in either conference?
No, it would probably upset the fan base, but I could see Shai Gilgeous-Alexander maybe being available from the Thunder, because
Really?
Sam Presti just keeps trading everybody and stockpiling picks. I think they're set. I don't think they need any more. But he's someone that I could see a team inquiring about, and if they blew him away, maybe they would do that, and then they build around Josh Giddey. Now, I don't think they should do that. Shai's still pretty damn young, probably only 23 or so. So it's not like they need to move him. But I don't know what's going on there. They still have way too many picks. And I wouldn't be shocked if they tried to acquire more or anything. Yeah, I think you also look at the Kings for sure. This is a team that's just been a disappointment since the C-Webb, Peja Stojakovic days. They've been a disaster. They still haven't made the playoffs since those glory days. It's been an ugly stretch for the Sacramento Kings. So I think they're definitely willing to trade someone like De'Aaron Fox. Tyrese Halliburton's been great for them, and they like Fox. Fox is a good player. It's just they have a glut of guards. They drafted Davion Mitchell in this past draft, and still the results aren't there. They're 11 games under 500. They're not any good. So I definitely see them being willing to shake it up and trade one of their better players.
What about the Celtics, Bob? The Celtics have the same record as the Knicks. They're 20-21, and they've got two bona fide young stars in Tatum and Brown.
Jalen.
And Brown's been going in lately. Brown's been going hammer time. I can't front. I know when you acquired him in Yiddy, our fantasy league, I had clowned you a bit, and I hated the package that you gave up for him, citing my concerns about his hamstring and how the fact that he always seems to have these random nagging injuries as the season goes on. But he's been on fire lately. Tate Young's doing his thing, but this team's not winning any games.
It is funny, though. I'm glad you brought up the Celtics because they're always very active. So in this moment, I still think no, they're not going to. Well, Tatum's their franchise player. Obviously, he's not available. But Jaylen Brown's the guy that people feel like, all right, maybe it's not a great fit with Tatum. Maybe they can't win with this. But I think some people, even including myself, because I think I picked them to be, I want to say, the 4 seed for the end of the season and in the playoffs. They're just not as good as maybe we think they are. And that's part of the problem. They're just not a very deep team. I see talented players like those two guys. I think Robert Williams can be a stud at center. Marcus Smart's a guy that you want on your team. But beyond that, they have guys who can be very hit or miss and very inconsistent. Whether that's Dennis Schroeder or Romeo Langford. We know Al Horford's clearly on the back nine of his career. They're 5-5 in their last 10. As you mentioned, I think earlier, they have the same record as the Knicks, 20-21. Mm-hmm. So they've shown a willingness to trade over the years for sure. Danny Ainge is very active as a GM. You have Brad Stevens now in that role, and he's leading the front office. So I expect them to be very active, and they're going to make a trade. I just don't know if it's really going to be Jaylen Brown. Well, it's like I said, it's not going to be Tatum, but Brown, I don't know. I don't think you give up on him. Not only has he been playing very well for them, but I do think he's a great two-way player, and he can help the Celtics win. They got to make a move somewhere else.
Now, I do want to move on to our next topic, and we still have a few things to cover here. We're about 25 minutes in. But before we move forward, I would like to remind everyone that we are powered by betting.net. It find the best place to bet for you. Betting.net offers expert and user reviews for every online sportsbook and casino in your state. So head on over to betting.net before you get too loosey-goosey with those bets and start making bad decisions and get in trouble.
Like me, potentially bad BDs. I mean, so.
Yeah. Yes, this is in 2009. Ain't no one got time for BDs like that right now. And of course, BDs, ladies and gentlemen, and folks of all ages, it stands for bad decisions. Maybe we'll get more into that at some point in the near future. But let's shift away from trade talks and trade rumors and stuff like that. And let's just move forward from the whole trade thing. Okay, let's talk about a couple of players who are back. Kyrie Irving and Klay Thompson. Which one of these two players returning from two very different situations do you think is going to have the biggest impact on their team this season?
Hands down, Klay Thompson. It's not even close. Kyrie's obviously very important to the Nets and their championship aspirations. But unless something changes with the vaccination requirements in the city of New York City, to be specific. Sounds dumb when you say that. And people are like, oh, it's a state. You all know what I meant.
Yeah.
But it's Klay, because he's going to play all the time. He's going to play every game. Maybe on back-to-backs, yeah, they're going to rest him. They're not going to expect him to play 35 minutes a game from the jump. But he's going to be at least available for every game. And Kyrie won't. Kyrie's only going to play in road games. So, to me, just off that fact alone, it's easily Klay. Now, if all things are equal, say if Kyrie could play all home and away games, then we have a bigger debate on our hands. Because I think we've already seen how great the Warriors are even without Klay, and they've been at like this level, whereas you've seen the Nets have plenty of disappointments and be more so like at this level so far through the season. Not a huge gap, but when you freak out, I think the Nets with Kyrie Irving can definitely make the finals. But to answer your question, it's got to be Klay. But I could see the argument for Kyrie if all things were equal.
Now, since you mentioned Klay as the player you see of these two providing the biggest impact to their respective team, just how good do you think Golden State is now with Klay? And with Klay Thompson, do you really see them as maybe the favorite in the West?
Yeah, definitely. I didn't think it before the season, but seeing how it's played out, Curry playing at an MVP level, Draymond still doing his thing, although he's been dealing with an injury recently. But Klay takes them to another level, back to the level they were before Durant and where they were in 2014, 15, 16, in those years when they were making the finals. Now, they're much older now, so the athleticism might not be there, but their basketball IQ and their intelligence is off the charts. And now they have plenty of time to get Klay assimilated. We're right about at that halfway point. So they'll get him fully up to speed. Andrew Wiggins has been a very valuable piece, and it was great for his career to come to San Francisco and play with this Warriors team. And they get contributions from a lot of other guys, Kevon Looney and Damian Lee and Jordan Poole. This is a well-rounded team, a well-coached team. Sky's the limit. I think they're absolutely the favorites right now in the West. Now they probably were favorites even before Klay came back, and now to add, they didn't make the top 75 list, but he arguably should have. So one of the greatest players of all time, one of the top 100 at the very least. It's great for the Warriors, and if I was a fan, I mean, I'd be over the moon. They should be back in the finals.
Now we're gonna get back to that in a hot second, but we have a comment here, and I do want to share it.
Yes.
And this is from my co-hosts on our Monday podcast, the NFL Draft Show with Sam Teets and myself. And Sam commented that we should have bet the Bulldogs. And of course, Sam is talking about the college football championship that was last night, where Georgia won their first national title in 41 years. They beat Alabama. They took care of business. They won them by double digits. And people everywhere who bet on Alabama, myself included, lost money, and they were disgusted.
Yeah, don't say we, because I bet on Georgia. I bet on the -3. Nothing big, only $20, so nothing to brag about. But I just, like I said, even to you and Greg, I wasn't fully confident in it at all. I felt the line did seem a little fishy. Should have been a little lower, either them favored by one or even really Bama favored. But I won with my heart, and this time it actually paid off. I was happy to see that Georgia actually finally won. You wanted them to win too, but you just thought that the line was a little crazy, and Alabama's been beat them in the SEC championship game, smacked them around really. So you live
Smack
and you
them
learn.
around is right.
You live and you learn. It's surprising that they won by 15.
Now, no more college football. That's for other shows. But one more thing for Sam from Sam. And Sam, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for your comments. Sam says Dwight Howard deserved to be on the top 75. Can't believe he didn't make it. Now, he, of course, is referring to the top 75, players of all time list that came out.
Came out this year because, technically last year, but for this season because it's the 75th year of the NBA. They've done lists in the past. I think they did one at 35, 50, and then, definitely those two. 50 was like 97 or so. So, they came out with another list, and I mentioned Klay not making it and him having a gripe. And Dwight Howard, I think was the biggest omission from that list. I definitely agree with Sam.
I don't care about the top 75.
You're like, I don't care about that topic. That was a week or two ago, right?
Dwight Howard's a good player and all that jazz, but he's just one of those guys that never improved as his career went on. He was what he was. He got stronger, sure, but he never got any better as a free throw shooter. He never got better with his post moves. He was a dunk, a putback guy, and a wide open layup, and that was pretty much it. Very disappointing. So I get why he wasn't on that list, but MVP. Oh, here we go. One more from Sam here. Got another one comment here. Boom. MVP shares in 5 straight years. Top 5 4 times. Second in 2010, 2011. And that was really peak Dwight Howard when he was literally carrying the Magic all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals and getting wins in the playoffs and making moves and looking just like a
He had more than 8 or more All-Star appearances. He was All-NBA multiple times, first team, multiple Defensive Player of the Year awards. He had a major gripe, and I understand it. He should have been on the list.
No, I'm not. I'm not shitting on the man. I'm just saying when I think top players all time, even once we get down to the 50s, 60s, and 70s, it's hard to go with a guy who was so one-dimensional, didn't win any chips, and he was the best player on his team, and the team was built around him. But
he did win a chip, but not as one of the main guys. No.
Well, right. That's what I mean. Yeah. He didn't win a chip as the guy, which is it matters. That means something. It's one thing to win a chip when you're the bench guy, coattailing off the best player in the league or whatever. But it's a whole nother thing when you are the 1A, you are the alpha, you are the dog in that clubhouse, and as good as you are, you're just not good enough to take him to the chip or to win a chip on, carry him, be a goat, girthy. But no, I know Dwight Howard's name was on the list of snubs, so it's not far fetched, it's not crazy. Sam brings up very valid points, and you do as well. But let's go back to the Brooklyn Nets for a hot second. And besides Kyrie, because that's the big thing, and that's what everyone wants to know about, talk about, think about, whatever, and which is fine because he's an elite player. But Bob, do you have any concerns that the Nets are running Durant into the ground? He's playing a lot of minutes. He's not a spring chicken anymore. It's a long season. You don't have any concerns?
I don't. He loves playing ball. This is what he does. I know it's been a lot of mileage on him over this past year plus because you had him deep into the playoffs and into the second round at least, but they went 7 games against the Bucks. They also had him playing in the Olympics. Now the Nets season. But I fully expect as they continue to pull away from the rest of the pack, I know they've struggled a little bit recently, so they're not the number 1 seed. But once they still separate distance as the 2 seed or so, and we get later in the season, they're going to manage his minutes more. There'll probably be games where they'll just outright sit him. We know how disgusting it gets with load management in the NBA, especially as teams start to wrap things up between their division and their playoff spot and all that good stuff. So I really don't worry about it. If I'm the Nets, I'm just trying to get to the playoffs healthy, and I think they'll plan for that. I don't think they're going to keep running them into the ground. I think you bring up a valid point because it does feel like he's played a lot, and even when he was out for COVID, he came back fairly quick, and there's plenty of times he's played 40-plus minutes a game, especially they've gone into overtime a number of times. So it's something that they do need to watch out for. But no, I wouldn't raise the red flag now. I'm not that concerned.
Not at all. Not one bit.
The Knicks got bigger problems, all right? There's a lot of other teams that got some crap going on. I got to worry. These guys got 3 of the top 15 or 20 players in the NBA. Concerns. Yeah, I wish I had those concerns.
Yo, these are good problems to have, yeah?
Yeah, exactly. We got James Harden, Kevin Durant, and Kyrie Irving. Give me a damn break.
So actually, let me. Sam had another comment here, so let me share that with everybody. Again, with the top 75 list, I was surprised to see Damian Lillard, Anthony Davis, and Paul Pierce on the list. Bob, do any of those 3 names stand out to you as not belonging?
Those are all borderline ones where I can see where someone could make the argument that they wouldn't or that they shouldn't be on the list. I definitely think they should be, all of them, especially Paul Pierce and Damian Lillard, really, because Damian Lillard's played longer in the league, not by a lot, but Anthony Davis has missed a lot of games and came out, I think, a year after Lillard. Maybe they're the same draft class, but either way, we know Lillard's played a lot more. So I think, yes, they're kind of those fringe ones. I would probably put Dwight over Anthony Davis, for instance. That's probably what should have happened. Paul Pierce, I get the knocks on him. He's kind of an overrated player historically, but he did have a very nice career. Helps that he played with the Celtics. I think it does play a factor when you play for one of the preeminent franchises, or especially in the Northeast, because there is some East Coast bias that still exists in journalism and sports in general. So I get kind of why they would be maybe saying things they should be off, or just thinks, all right, these are some of the guys that I'm a little questionable about. So I understand those 3, but I think definitely Lillard and Pierce belong. But yeah, if I had to take one out, I would have taken out Davis and put in Dwight Howard.
Okay, fair enough. Now, before we go to our next and I want to say final topic, unless I'm missing something, I want to remind everybody to head on over to betting.net and see for yourself how betting.net makes it easy to find all of the legal online casinos and sports books in your state. Head on over to betting.net. Now, Bob, we had mentioned that the All-Star break is approaching. All-Star voting is open. I know I didn't mention this to you in the pre-show because I kind of wanted to spring it on you at the end and get your natural reactions and your natural thoughts without thinking about it first. But voting is open. I will be voting. I'm sure you'll be voting. But give me your starting 5 for the East.
All right, so I won't look at anything. So putting me on the spot. All right, so I think DeMar DeRozan certainly deserves a spot.
Yeah, let's start with the guards.
Guards. All right, so DeRozan, Trae Young. Then, well, I mean, DeRozan's really actually probably more forward these days. Well, they do 2 guards and 3 forwards, so whatever. We'll figure it out.
DeMar is listed as a guard.
DeMar is listed as a guard? All right.
Yes.
So I'll say DeMar and Trae Young. Got to put Durant there, Giannis, and then probably Embiid. Probably the starting 5.
Okay. All right.
You like it?
I mean, I was not expecting such a fast response, but I love it.
You like that?
I do. Well done. So you know what? I'm going to give you my guys. It's not going to be as fast because I do got I am still sorting through a couple guys.
Yeah, because you're looking it up.
And it's close for me on a few guys, but I'm gonna definitely put Trae Young up there, and I'm gonna put James Harden up there. All right, I know DeMar's going in, and he is a big reason why the Bulls are the number 1 seed in the East right now, and he definitely deserves all the props that he gets. But when we're talking about All-Stars, we're talking about Harden, the man's averaging over 22 points a game, 9.7 assists, 8.1 rebounds. He has not fallen off at all. With Kyrie out and Durant, sits randomly, that man's gonna ball out. You know how I feel about James Harden. So I'm gonna go with Trae Young and James Harden, and then with the rest of them, I mean, it's pretty straightforward in the front court. It's got to be Durant. It's got to be Giannis. And I like what Tatum's doing. And I love what Sabonis is doing. Sabonis is averaging 19 and 12 with 4.6 assists per game. And as much as I want to put Sabonis on that starting 5, I got to go with Joel Embiid as well. 27, 10.6 rebounds, 4.5 assists. I don't know how you can go against that right now. That's what it's got to be. So let's go to the West, Bob.
Before you do that, 5. I'll give it to you. I'll give you my starting 5 in the West. But yeah, I want to just comment on the East. I definitely don't have anything against you putting Harden in there. But I also clarify for these that we are doing who our starting 5 would be. Because you also saying Harden makes me feel like that's probably what it's going to be. He's a more well-known, popular player. And if I remember correctly, that's still how they determine it. Maybe because I think the NFL changed. I don't know if the NBA is still straight up fan voting for the starting 5. So I could definitely see Harden getting it over DeMar, but I think it should be too.
NBA needs to change that too. Fans are dumb. I know I'm a fan, you're a fan, but fans are dumb, and they make stupid decisions, and they like to troll. And we've seen guys who aren't even playing in the league anymore get all-star votes and shit like that. It's ugly. NBA's got to get it together. I know it's a popularity contest. That's what an all-star, game is or whatever, voting for your favorite players. But it's kind of a mockery, and it's a little disgusting. But let's go over to the West. All right, let's start again with the guards. Give me your starting 5. There's a lot of good ones too, man. This is going to be tough.
So I'd have to go with Steph Curry. I'll go with Donovan Mitchell. Damn, that's hard though because CP3's been balling out too.
CP3 might be an MVP candidate.
All right, so we're going with our personal starting 5 because I think CP3 will probably get the vote. It's hard for me to leave him off this. I love him too. He's been awesome. But I'm going to go with Donovan Mitchell. I'll say Curry and Mitchell as my guards. And then it's tough. I think, Jokic is definitely one of them. One of the forwards. That's
on the front court. Yep. Okay.
Yeah, I actually got to go with Cat too. Karl Anthony Towns has been having an awesome year. He's averaging 27 points, probably, I don't know, 8 rebounds. No, he's got to be at more than that. He's going to be double-digit rebounds.
24.5 and 9.3 rebounds.
Okay, so it is lower than 10, but still beefy. And Timberwolves are still in the mix in the playoff picture, so gets a little credit for that. The last spot, though, that is a tough one.
Is it? I don't think it is, based on who you just said.
Well, I was thinking LeBron, even though he's missed time.
Ding, ding, ding. That's the one.
Because the time is the only thing is he did miss at least 12 to 15 games so far this year.
Who cares?
Well, he'll definitely get the vote, so it's not even a matter of that, but it's just for someone's personal top starting 5. But he's been awesome. The Lakers' struggles clearly cannot be pinned on LeBron. He's been amazing since returning. He's been averaging probably 30 points a game since he came back, getting damn near a triple-double in plenty of games. So he's been awesome. You got to go with that starting 5. The NBA is still in good hands, man. These are some loaded lineups. And just to think all the guys that will be off the bench, like the CP3 for me or a Brad Beal. And LaMelo Ball should make it in the East. He's a young goat. Hey, Anthony Edwards, the Cats teammate, can make it. So it's not just the guys currently in their prime or the superstar legends like the Currys, but also even the young crop that's really showing out over the last couple of years. So it's one of the best times in the NBA, honestly.
Yo, hell yeah! It's not unlike the early 2000s when the league was just lacking star talent all around. I mean, yeah, of course we had legends and we had
He always
AI
has
and
stars.
Kobe and Shaq and all that shit. But I remember in high school, dude, it was ugly. The 03, 04, 05 area, just it was just gross, just ugly
Especially a
talent.
team like the Pistons winning, who are a very good team. Don't get me wrong, but
Gross.
usually you see teams that have at least 2 or 3 superstars win it because it's only a 5-man game at a time on each team, and there's just so few players. You have rotations down to 8 or even 7 when it comes playoff time in the NBA. So there's just a select amount of talent, and at that time, you're right, it was weak. It wasn't the same. You still have stars, but you don't have a star on pretty much every team like you pretty much do now. And maybe some teams don't. There's a few that don't, but some have still all stars, and then you see the teams that are absolutely loaded, like the Warriors or the Suns, and so on, the Bulls, so Nets, of course. There's a lot of loaded teams and just talent throughout the entire league.
So for me, for my starting 5 for the West, I'm going to go with Chris Paul and Curry. Curry actually, I think, leads all players in fan votes, but I'm going to go Curry and Chris Paul. And for my front court, I'm going to go Joker, LeBron. And the last one I've been thinking while you've been talking, I've been thinking Cat's doing well, but AD was doing work before getting injured. Over 23 points a game, 10 rebounds, 3 assists, leading the league in blocks or damn near it. And just to be different, just because I can, I'm going to go with Rudy Gobert. Man's averaging 15.5 points, 15 rebounds. May very well be the best defender in the league, definitely the best defensive big man in the league. And he's not maybe, quote unquote, more skilled than guys like, obviously, Anthony Davis, Cat, maybe even Paul George, who's another one who was in contention, another one I was sorting through. But you can't sleep on his importance. I know you mentioned Donovan Mitchell as your other starting guard for the West, but I mean, Rudy Gobert is the. When I think of Utah, I think of Rudy Gobert. Like when we think about like Memphis, when the Memphis was doing their thing, you thought about Memphis, you thought about like Marc Gasol, for example.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, I have a shit-eating grin on my face because I just love that you're giving kudos to Rudy Gobert because last year I told you and Greg that he's a better player than Domantas Sabonis. I got laughed at. Yet, weird. This team actually is very relevant in the playoffs every year. He wins Defensive Player of the Year. Domantas Sabonis toiling away on a rebuilding team at 15 and 26.
What do you want Sabonis to do? What does the guy got to do? It's
play defense.
Sabonis is a legend, all right? He might be the best passing big man in the league.
Sabonis is great, but not winning with him as your best player. It's just not happening.
Hashtag cat problems. So, I think, unless, Bob, you have any questions or concerns or anything like that, I think that pretty much wraps it up for us on this episode of Shoot the J. Shoot it! But I do want to remind everyone that betting.net finds the best promotions, offers, and bonus codes so you don't have to. So head on over to their website, betting.net, now to take advantage of things like free bets and matching deposits, betting.net. So, Bob, I'm done with all the topics that I had on the ledger. Do you have any questions or anything like that you want to throw out there before we sign off?
Nope. I got nothing else, honestly. I think it was a good show. We covered a lot of topics. It was a lot of fun. And for once, actually, on a Tuesday, the Knicks actually don't play. It's a shocker.
Yes, and RJ Barrett's coming off of a 30-point game, which is awesome. And we are facing off in Yiddy this week.
I hope he
So
keeps it up. He's on my favorite team, so that comes above my fantasy team for me. I know for you, probably not.
nah. Fantasy team over any team I root for because my teams all suck.
That's true. Most of mine do.
At least my fantasy teams are useful more often than not. But no, I just want to say also before we log off that Bob and I are facing off in Yiddy. And Bob, I'm gonna have my way with your team this week. Your team is butt. Your butt. I'm leading our division. I'm gonna hold that lead after I take care of you 7-3 this week. And we do categories, so that's me winning 7 categories and Bob just getting smacked around. And then when we get on here next week, I can tell everyone how much I won by and who my star players of the week were and stuff like that. And we might have to start talking fantasy on a weekly basis, Bob. We'll have to figure that out.
Actually goofy for the first time in quite some time, and especially last time we played, my team was decimated. So now you're getting a healthy squad. I think it'll be a close one. You're not blowing me out. I don't think I'm blowing you out either, to be honest. But I think it's gonna be a tight one. It's gonna be one of those that comes down to Sunday for sure.
I want you at full strength. So when I smack you, I don't hear any excuses.
Although that seems to happen every week to me. I usually have 3 guys out, it feels like. But I know everyone did like these past few weeks. So for the most part, it was level at that time. But I was getting railed for a while, man. It's only now that I only have one guy on the IR spot. But we'll see.
Yep, Alex Caruso. So, well, on the flip side, I'm without Lillard. And a couple other guys.
That'll help me. That helps.
That helps, but it won't help you enough to win, Bob.
Yeah. We'll see.
Take care of you. Take the trash out. It's Tuesday. Tuesday's trash day over here. Yeah.
I wind up like your Alabama bet, crashing and burning.
Well, at least I can sit and watch it burn. Drink a beer, enjoy myself. But, Bob, we're on Instagram. We're on Twitter. What's our handle, boy?
Our handle is DB Talking Sports. B as in Dan, B as in Bob. Hit us up on Twitter, Instagram, DM, give us feedback. We also have our shows. Dan doing the Monday Night Draft show with Sam Teets, who was commenting earlier. He's got his weekly pick show, which I don't know what day you guys are doing it for the playoffs.
Wednesdays.
Friday. Well, you usually do it Wednesdays.
Keeping it Wednesdays, I think.
Keep it Wednesdays. All right. I do my betting show, a little 30 minutes every Wednesday as well. Usually have that uploaded by Thursday morning. So, yeah, check all that content out. Check out Grueling Truth, where legends speak like Dan and Bob. And thanks to everyone for tuning in. Hit us up.
Woo! And I want to sign off. I want to thank you guys again for tuning in. This was Shoot the J. Shoot it!
Shoot the J!
And I want to remind you guys that betting.net is not just sports betting, but betting.net compares the best online casinos. So sit back, relax, and play the top online slots, poker, and table games right from the comfort of your own home on betting.net. Again, for Bobby Hunt, I am Dan Kornhauser. I'll be on here tomorrow. I hope you guys tune in for the Pick'em show, like Bob said. And it's playoff time in the NFL. I'm excited for that. We'll make our picks tomorrow. But for now, I'll catch you guys next week. See ya.